fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. Tuesday night edition. Now I'm going to have a Wednesday night now because Rob and I talked so long. I'm going to come back tomorrow and do another episode. All right? If y'all get tired of that, just let me know. But I'm going to do my safety grievances tomorrow. Very important grievances, okay? I've dealt with it before. We're going to do it again because every summer we deal with the same dumbass things that management comes up with. And so we're going to address it every year. I'm going to address it. We're going to talk about heat-related issues for the beginning of the summer. Grievances that we're going to file, we're going to keep doing that. And we'll be in great hands next summer because we'll have Rob Kosier will be the Director of Safety and Health, previously of Director of City Delivery. But we'll talk a little bit about that. But Rob has been talking with James for quite a while about his interest in the dogs of war and wanting to handle that and wanting to be over that. His plans for that, his ideas for that, James fell in love with it. And so Rob has stepped down to be the Director of Safety and Health. And so that's a great fit for that guy. And I've talked about in Cookeville. I talked about when I talked to Rob. What I want from that position is when the name comes across the desk, the letterhead Director of Safety and Health comes across the desk, they understand that it's too late. Once Rob gets a hold of it and gets involved with it, it's too late. And that's what I want with the Dogs of War. We're going to change the toxic working environment on the workroom floor. That's happening. James has put a priority on it. I have put a priority on it. And Rob Kosier is going to be the Director of Safety and Health, and he's going to be over it because the JSOV falls under the purview of Director of Safety and Health. There's nobody better. Nobody better. And because I want somebody who doesn't take any shit, talks softly and carries a big stick, and that's Rob Kosier. And you'll see what I'm talking about when he takes over. It's going to be Katie bar the fucking door, and I can't wait. A lot of people sent stuff to me today about the episode yesterday, and I loved it. Here's one individual said, "Hey, Corey, one of the best things that I have done that helped me is to buy large bags of frozen fruits and putting them into containers until lunch. Fantastic to cool you down and keep you hydrated." And so that's a fantastic idea. If you go to Costco, they have all those frozen fruits. Most of them are for smoothies, making smoothies, but they have the packs of frozen fruit. And so that's a perfect idea, is to take those, and as they kind of melt, to eat those, put the, it's cool, it's cold, it's frozen. A perfect idea. Great idea. Here's somebody sent this to me to piss you off. They have their S&DC. He said, "We have zero air conditioner at our new fancy Huntington S&DC. It's a complete shit show." Here's so your S&DC that's just bought has no AC. None. Listen to this. They have a 10-minute office break in their local. The break room, 120 degrees. Listen to me. The candy in the vending machines is melting. And that's where they want us to go sit for break. The candy in the vending machines is melting. Now, your brothers and sisters at that S&DC are dealing with that every day. If that don't piss us off nationally, and when you talk about an injury to one is an injury to all, we have brothers and sisters in a Huntington S&DC. There's no air conditioning. In the break room, it's 120 degrees. The candy is melting in the machine. How is it that everybody from National isn't parked down there to help our brothers and sisters? That's the type of shit I'm talking about. When Rob gets in, we will have people camped out at those places until they're fixed. Completely crazy. But again, if I go in a place that ain't got no air conditioning, I'm going to tell my carriers to go out and sit in their cars, in the air conditioning in their cars to cool down. If they're going to start turning the air conditioning off so that we get out of the office, I'm going to make sure that their office time is 2 hours or 3 hours, because my carriers are going to go out to their cars and cool down. You want to talk about buying a fucking air conditioner? These motherfuckers will find an air conditioner then. Hey, just turn the air off on them. They'll get out of the office. Why is y'all's office time 2 hours? It should have been 30 minutes. Well, hell, they keep going out to the fucking cars to cool down. Fuck, we need to buy an air conditioner then. They're killing us on this office time. Y'all go out to your fucking vehicles and cool down on these motherfuckers that are doing that shit. Too many people have messaged me about the air conditioning being cut off or not working in these. They motherfuckers knew summer was coming. It didn't sneak up on them, just like Christmas sneaks up on these motherfuckers every year. Summer didn't sneak up on these motherfuckers. They knew it was coming. They should have had air conditioning if Article 14 is true. Let me see what it says here. It is the responsibility of management to provide safe working conditions in all present and future installations. That to me is what that would mean. But I think that if they looked on the 2027 calendar, June will be on that motherfucker too. And so will July and August. I guarantee it. I don't think there's anything coming down nationally that's going to do away with June, July, and August. So every fucking year, just like you have Christmas, and they're not ready for that, every fucking year we're going to have summer. We ain't got no air conditioning. That's by design. And we should have a motherfucker in that ass. But that's coming with Rob Kosier. I'm telling y'all, this motherfucker is relentless and ruthless. Is who he is. And it's exactly what we fucking need right now. Another guy sent me this. This is from the National Weather Service Guidelines. So if you look this up, if you look up National Weather Service Guidelines, okay, this is what it says. 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Working or exercising in direct sunlight will stress your body after 45 minutes. Take at least 15 minutes of breaks each hour if working or exercising in direct sunlight. 85 degrees. Greater than 85. Working or exercising in direct sunlight will stress your body after 30 minutes. Take at least 30 minutes of breaks each hour if working or exercising in direct sunlight. Over 88. Working or exercising in direct sunlight will stress your body after 20 minutes. Take at least 40 minutes of breaks each hour if working or exercising in direct sunlight. Over 88 degrees Fahrenheit. That last one was too. Working or exercising in direct sunlight will stress your body after 15 minutes. Take at least 45 minutes of breaks each hour if working or exercising in direct sunlight. That's 88 degrees Fahrenheit. I had somebody send me their thermometer in their vehicle. 124 degrees. 124 degrees. At 2 o'clock. 124. Now you got somebody talking about y'all want us to be out there 10 hours in this shit. Straight time pay. 124 degrees. And that said, if it's 88, you should be taking 45-minute break an hour. Management would shit if we started doing that. But my safety is paramount. I know that. You'll be sitting in that vehicle. You see that everything that you look up will tell you how dangerous it is after 85 degrees. 85 degrees is what triggers HIP. If you remember, and I'll go over that next week, but 85 degrees is what triggers HIP. That's 85. You're sitting in a vehicle 125 for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. Do you know that if you put a roast in, you can cook a pot roast at 130 degrees for 8 hours? That's your body. That's your body. Now we got people trying to sell us on 10 hours of that shit. It's 10 hours of that shit. But look. Take care of yourselves out there in this heat. It is no fucking joke. Everybody's telling you except management. Everybody's telling you it's dangerous. How dangerous it is after 80 degrees, after 85 degrees, 88 degrees. How dangerous it is. Pay attention. Nothing's more important than your safety. Okay? Nothing. Had another thing that an individual sent me, said, hey, on Monday, June 15th, while browsing the various sites on Light Blue, I poked into the training section of Hero. Upon checking training that was completed, I found that I had received credit for completing both the service talks and annual refreshers for the HIP training. I was not at work on May 26th, as I was on annual leave between May 17th and June 1st. At the time of this training, I was several hundred miles away in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they're still falsifying HIP training today. Do you know why? Because your bitch-ass president didn't hold them accountable. He didn't take that nationally. They're still falsifying the shit today. And I'll read this again from the Area Retail and Delivery Operations Vice President. Here in the southern area, rising temperatures come early, which makes our focus on heat illness and injury prevention even more important. Our heat illness prevention program training is vital, as is adherence to all tips provided, such as proper hydration, pacing ourselves throughout the day, and recognizing the signs of heat stress in ourselves and others. Safety has no season. Still falsifying HIP training today. Still. Nothing done nationally about that. And that still pisses me off. But we will do that shit when we take over in just a few short months. Next summer will be a lot different, I promise you. Okay? But, and then somebody sent me these scanner messages. I had one scanner message saying, are you still performing your load function? They're too fucking lazy to come check you on the dock to see if you're still loading. That's where we have come to, is that everything is done by the scanner because they're too fucking lazy to get up off their fat ass and go see if we're loading. Are you still loading your vehicle? Here's another one. Are you still completing end of shift duties? Fuck, I'm in office. This person is at the case. Putting this out there. It's on the scanner. Are you still completing end of shift duties? Yes or no? I'm not going to answer that. I'm not answering. Bring your ass out here and look. But that's where we are. The scanner has taken over everything. Management, non-existent. They can go back home and do everything from the fucking scanner. Are you still loading your vehicle? Where are you at? I'm at the house. Are you still completing end of shift duties? Oh, where are you at? I'm at the house. I see you're sitting there on my laptop. I see you're sitting there. No sit time now. That's where we're at. You talking about being able to cut management? You can cut, this is honest to God's truth. You can cut 60% of management. We wouldn't miss a beat. 60% you could cut. They can do this shit from the house. You could have one person doing 30 stations with this shit right here. You can get rid of 30 managers and just have one doing that. Are you still completing end of shift duties? Hell, you could have one manager just doing 10 stations with that. You still loading your truck? I see you're sitting. No sit time. This place is a fucking joke, man. We should be stomping up and down on these motherfuckers and we're not. I mean foot on fucking throats and we're not. But those days are coming. I promise you that. The days of the lazy motherfuckers running us are coming to an end. I promise you that. But anyway, wanted to get that out of the way. Those few things that people sent me, and I appreciate y'all sending me those things too. Okay, but safety is paramount. Okay, it's paramount. I'm gonna have Rob Kosier. He's on right now. You're gonna love this guy. This dude right here, and I called him the snapping turtle in Cookville because a snapping turtle, when it gets a hold of you, it won't let go. That's Rob, and that's what we need in that position right now, Director of Safety and Health. More than at any time ever, because of the things that we're going to implement and do. Dogs of War is one of them. I need those people to understand that when they see his name, the letterhead come across the desk, it's too fucking late. James has put a priority on the toxic working environment. Y'all don't understand how big of a priority that is to that man. And it's a priority to me. We're going to handle the toxic working environment on the workroom floor. That's one thing that's going to be handled. And that's a promise from me to you. I will not fail in that. And Rob will not either. We'll make sure that he has the resources available to handle that. And him and Paul Bolanger already have their training done. It's already ready. Just ready for us to take over. So, but here's Rob Kosier. I will be back tomorrow. My wife is out of town in New York. You know I get bored. And so I'll have another episode. So every time she goes out of town, I'll just do a fucking episode because I get tired and bored, right? So, but I'm going to do my safety grievance tomorrow. Make sure you pay attention. Make sure you listen. It's got some great things from you. I've talked about it before, okay? It's episode 53. It'll have the whole case file that I'm going to go over. I'm not going to go over the whole case file because it's 200-something pages, but it's a case file that I put together because management here in Nashville was telling carriers that they don't get any additional breaks in the heat. And that's what we're dealing with now. This is in 2015. And so here it is 11 years. They're still doing the same old shit. Okay, so we'll go over that tomorrow in another grievance. But I have some things for you. Make sure you have your pen and paper ready. And then if you want the case file, go to from8arbitration.com, find episode 53, and the whole case file is there for you to download. I have an email from Manny Peralta who sent me some great things. Now, those things will need to be updated because they're stats from 2015, but you'll have a lot of stuff for you to download and use, okay? So I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. We'll do the heat grievance, but here's Rob Kosier. He'll be the next Director of Safety and Health. You're going to love him. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. I love y'all. Please be safe. Be safe. Nothing's more important than your safety, okay? I love you. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye. All right. I got my main man, Rob Kosier. He's with me tonight. It's late on your side of town. It's bedtime where you're at.
Same time as you?
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did I think that you were an hour ahead of me?
No, I'm Central time.
You see, Rob, that's why you're here. Because I thought that I'd put you late at night, but we're right here together.
Yep, so I can't even use that as an excuse.
Like we should be. Just two old dogs. Just talking to each other.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a change in schedule for you, right? And we're going to talk about it a little bit, but you were going to be the Director of City Delivery. And you and James talks with all of us constantly, though, so that's nothing new. But you and James have been talking, and kind of like James with me when I was Director of City Delivery, said maybe your best fit is here. And you and him been talking a while, really over something specific that you had a passion for, but now you're transitioning to Director of Safety and Health on the concerned letter carrier slate. And you and I talk a lot. We've talked a lot about it as well. And I'll just say, I mean, your passion was for the toxic work environment, specifically the dogs of war. And as Director of Safety and Health, the joint statement falls under your purview. And so that whole thing would answer to you. But I'll just let you talk about it. I'm telling your story, but anyway, I think it's a fantastic fit based off of what you and I and James have been talking about and other things that we have talked about. I will say this, and I talked about this in Cookville, is that in certain positions, you need those individuals that take no shit. The vice president is one of those because you're dealing with the MBAs and the backlog of grievances. We have gotten that way for a reason. I think that Kamitra's a perfect fit for that. Also, where you're at, Director of Safety and Health, because to me, nothing's more important than the carrier's safety. That's numero uno above anything else. And you're that individual that, and James will say the same thing, that takes no shit. And so that's who you want in those positions. So with that being said, Just kind of what's up with you, why you wanted to make that change, and what are we going to look forward to with Rob Kosier as the next director of safety and health?
Well, I appreciate that introduction. Um, yeah, so like I mean, like you said, it was wanting to do something that was a little bit more passionate about. But the Dogs of War, extremely, extremely interesting, got my attention. But overall, safety is just absolutely huge. And I think some people dismiss it, initially. And it's I think it's one of the most extremely important things that we have to rely on as carriers. When people hear about safety and health, they, right away think of slips, trips, falls, dog bites, stuff like that. And obviously that's completely important, but the job today has completely changed. Um, Dealing with the extreme heat, extreme cold, assaults on carriers, robberies, burnout, mental health issues. So that means safety and health have to evolve as well with, with the realities of what our members face every day. The joint statement is to me is so important, and it just really just gets thrown off to the side, especially by management. Um, I think that one of the things we got wrong is treating the joint statement separate from safety.
Hmm.
It's not. If a carrier is being harassed or intimidated, bullied, that's a safety issue.
Yeah,
Um, and if people are afraid to speak up, afraid to report that, afraid to ask for help, then we don't have a safe working environment, safe workplace.
yeah.
So for
I
me,
agree with
like I
that.
want to dig in on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I've always said, and when we do the training for Dogs Born, I know that you and Paul Bolanger will work hand in hand with that. Matter of fact, you've already put together kind of training for that. But Article 14 absolutely goes hand in hand with the JSOV. I believe that wholeheartedly. Every time we file one here, uh, Article 14 and the JSOV hand in hand. And like you said, and safety and health, when you think of national officers, it's not that sexy. Like you said, you think of slips, trips, and falls and all that. But right now, when we're talking about these scanner messages, no sit time, keep it moving, beat the heat. Those are things that affect the carrier's safety, and that would fall under your purview as well. I would like there to be something done nationally about these scanner messages. We don't do anything about it. Matter of fact, uh, every region's kind of on a different page about those things. But it pisses me off. We grieved them here in Nashville and one of those grievances. A lot of people message me saying, hey, we want to grieve it, but my branch president won't, or the business agent don't support it, anything like that. But I believe that nationally, Director of Safety and Health should be involved addressing scanner messages that I feel are unsafe.
I agree with you 1,000%. If you think of all the new people coming in, I just can't imagine being somebody that's got a couple weeks in, a couple months in, receiving one of those dumbass messages. That would put fear into them, thinking that I could get fired if I
Yeah.
take an extra break. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
people are going to die.
Yeah. Well, hell, look at Eugene Gates Jr. This man was fixing to retire, and truly, I believe that you issue him discipline based off of stationary events, scanner data, and then you put out that message: keep it moving, beat the heat. I've always said I believe that they killed that man, but those are things that I would love to see addressed nationally that are not. I believe scanner messages should be addressed nationally. Also, you're talking. I know that you and I are talking, and I'll let you talk about it, but June, July, and August, we've got to come up with something concrete, some kind of game plan nationally. Sit down with our counterparts and talk about something we can come up with, some kind of memo for the summer months.
Um, yeah, I mean, June, July, August is obviously the pinnacle of the heat, but there's other places around the country where they got 6, 7 months of heat.
Yeah.
Here in, my wife originally came from Florida, delivered mail there, and nothing about that sounds fun at all. You're sitting in the tin can, 90 degrees, swamp ass, humid. It just, I mean, easily people would dehydrate.
Yeah,
And I'm with you on that. I think that we need, more standardized awareness, standardized training for it. And hell yeah, we absolutely have to sit down with management and hash some stuff out. There has to be better policies. I know
yeah,
it sounds redundant to talk about, reminding people to hydrate, but as an example, 7 years ago, I ended up having to call 911. I was dehydrated, but it was in the middle of the night and my heart started going crazy. I didn't know what was going on. When I was in the ambulance, the firefighter randomly asked me, "Have you been drinking water?" And I was like, "Shit, I don't think so." And he's like, "Man, the same thing happened to me." And get to the hospital, I severely dehydrated. Guess what? I know about hydration, and I still failed at this.
yeah,
Um, Something so simple as just a reminder. I know it, like I said, I know it's redundant, but just having that happen, and because I went through that, trust me, I'm not gonna probably end up in that same spot or position again because now I'm just more aware of it. But I don't want to see anybody, have to get to that level to just have awareness.
yeah,
Um, because next thing you know, we just find somebody laying on the ground because, they were dehydrated and then heat stroke.
yeah,
And it doesn't take much. And
yeah,
it just, like you said, I just don't feel that there's a big enough emphasis on it. Yeah, we can all write articles and mention the hip training and stuff like that, but more has to be done.
yeah. And June, July, and August don't count, for anything. They don't count for any. You can't use the data. And so I told you about me and Bruce Getz, that was the area vice president, I mean, safety, right, head of safety for the area, going at it about what we can do in the summer months to alleviate carriers being out there in the heat. And I said, why don't we let them stick DPS? All ops said that they're worried about performance. Why? Why are you worried about performance? It'll always come back to numbers. That's the reason, I love the fact that you're taking over that spot because you don't give a shit about management and their numbers. And I know that. And you'll always put the carriers first. But that's the first thing that they thought of when I said, why don't we let carriers stick to DPS so they're not out there in the street line? But those, their efficiency, they're worried about their performance. So it'll always be to them, it'll be we're just numbers. To us, we have to be about the light, about light blue. But you look at June, July, and August, maybe you could have a nationwide start time, 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. You know, and allow those maybe single parents that have school schedules to make a temporary schedule change to help them out, and that would be probably something that you could put in a memo. I thought of these things when I was on the National Safety Committee, and what can we do during the summer months as something that we can write up to help the city letter carriers? And that would obviously be something that you and your staff would look at. But all these things should be addressed. We've not addressed that. Why? That to me, I would rather see us try to address it and have Manny, and I don't know if he's going to retire or not, but him come out and say, "Hey, look, we ran it up the flagpole, got shot down, but June, July, and August, we're trying to do something concrete to help our carriers because management fucks with us all the time. You got a start time of 7, then they'll move it to 8:30. Now you're talking about 4:10s. That's going to put us out there even longer. So I would love to see something set like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and the other thing too about really the summer months that I think kind of gets forgotten a little bit, but I know in Milwaukee we've been the recipient of this in the last few years is wildfire smoke. Man, we've been getting double doses mainly from Canada, but we've had the stuff trickle from out west where the skies here have been orange and it's yeah, I mean, I can smell it inside my office and I don't have the windows open.
Hmm.
I mean, and that happens a lot during the summertime too. So imagine being one of those carriers in the out west, the northern west or California, whatever. So not only do you got the heat, then you got the shitty air quality. And it's like I saw online people fighting to try to get respirators and management just saying, no, just go out there and tuck your nose in your shirt. And I'm like, that's just bullshit.
Let's talk about let's talk about dogs of war.
All right.
I know that that's something that's kind of your selling point on Director of Safety and Health because you kind of clung onto that, and that's something that you definitely have a passion for. You've already come up with some training. You call it basic training and stuff like that. But dogs of war, and this is why when we were in Cookville, I said that um, I love the fact that you and James had talked about it and you took that over because I think it's the perfect fit. Is because what we're going to do is we're going to address upper management on down. Most times you address the supervisor that's doing it, or the station manager that's doing it, or the postmaster that's doing it, but we don't address those that are over them, district managers, MPOs, POOMs, and those are things that we're going to do. That's going to happen. We're going to address them on down. And if we can get somebody else who will, like James said, casting a broad net. But the reason that one of the main reasons that I was excited about you doing it is because I know that once that letterhead hits the desk of a district manager, it's too fucking late. You're not going to be one of those that say, well, we'll give them another shot, or you promised me you're going to take care of it. I can take your word that you're going to take care of it, which is what happens constantly. Hey, look, y'all, I'll take care of this guy. You won't have to worry about it. Um, I know that once Rob Kosier's letterhead gets across the desk, it's too fucking late. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited when James was telling me, hey, Rob's going to go down Director of Safety and Health, primarily dogs of war, because, to me, it's one of the most important things. It's kind of my baby. That's something James and I had talked about, come up with, and it falls under your purview, not mine, because that's under the Director of Safety and Health. But so you'll be over that. And so I can't think of anybody more qualified than you as far as, like I said with Demetra, not giving a shit. And that's what I was excited about that. So dogs are for the selling point to you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when me and James were kind of talking about it, ironically, I was on vacation on my cruise and we started chopping it up about it. And, I just kind of told him some of the things that I really enjoyed. And, explaining to him that I want this to be a national program, not just a training class, not a committee, but I want a real network in this. I want all 15 regions involved, have a national boot camp. Clearly, the business agents would have involvement. Make it a standardized training with real grievance starters, not just grievance suggestions, um, different type of investigation techniques, um, and something where we continue to provide ongoing support. Not, all right, you guys took this, have at it, and you never hear from us again because this isn't going to stop. And for me, and it's not tooting a horn, but I enjoy hearing that my management in Milwaukee want me gone
Mm-hmm.
because that it says a lot that
Yeah.
they're rooting for me and said, if I could vote for you, I definitely would. And I'm glad to hear that, you know.
Right.
Um, I know there's so many people who want to get involved in this. Um, and I'm not taking anything away from different regions that have already implemented stuff. Um, I know that's out there. This is not some, nobody's saying that this was just a one person, creation because I know I've seen that stuff on social media.
Yeah.
But it would be inclusive to them of like, hey, what has worked over here? That's the beautiful part of our union.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sharing ideas, not gatekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
Um, because I think once these people get trained up the way we want them to be, make them feel, basically giving them a pair of brass balls,
Mm-hmm.
and then, something like, having monthly calls with them, setting people up with regional communication channels. Um, it'd be great if we could, set up something too where um, whether it's in a special part of the members portal, but just sharing resources with everybody, and maybe do some, continuing education on it as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's just the ideas are endless, but I
Yeah,
do wholeheartedly believe that, if successful on getting in and really just running at this, I do believe that we would see an immediate impact,
yeah,
just with the Postal Service realizing, we're not going to continue to lay down, and also the members on the floor. And that is some of the big struggle that, I mean, even locally, I have, hearing 3 months prior that there was a massive incident, or people just being too scared to, write statements and document what's going on. And hopefully this can just turn into something where people are ready to take their union back,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's everybody's union.
Well, it will be. It's a priority to James. He's already said, that financially we're going to do it. And what it's going to be when you talk about teams that are going out, you could have a team. There'll be teams of three, and you might have a team comprised of somebody from California, Montana, and Kentucky. They will fly in somewhere and they will stay there probably a week. Now, this is kind of how my mind was because this, like you said, they have teams in different districts. We did one here in Tennessee. I mean, in my region, that's kind of where it came from, the idea. But this was going to be controlled nationally by national, and the teams will be sent out nationally and answer to you at national. And so that's what sets it apart. But you'll have those vital few, and I talk about this wherever I go. When management has vital few with us, what that means is if in Tennessee district, if my station leads the district in slips, trips, and falls, they would be considered the vital few. If my station leads the district in accidents, they would be on a list called the vital few. If my station leads the district in attendance related issues, they would be on what we call the vital few. And so, what we will do is, like you said, you will work hand in hand with all the regions and come up with those vital few managers or supervisors that are notoriously doing things as far as creating a toxic working environment for our people. And then we would have I know Paul's talked about this already, and I'm sure you and him have talked about it, but uh, already have case files put together as far as past history on these individuals, so that when these teams get together, you can say, "Hey, we're going to send you down here to North Carolina, and I'm going to email you the history of this individual, what's happened recently that's putting y'all in there, and then they'll have the training to take it from there." Right?
And it's like you really can't ask for much better at that point.
Yeah,
Um, I mean that's really where I see it. That's where I would like to see it go as well.
yeah,
Um, I know a lot of people are excited about it. When we were in Tennessee, a couple of people, pulled me off on the side and were asking. And I just think that alone will help get people
yes,
to be less afraid of reporting this bullshit
yeah,
that's going on the workroom floor.
yeah. Well, some of the most messages I get, Rob, are people saying, my manager, my supervisor, we can't wait for the dogs of war to come in here. So it's something that's caught on. And I agree with you. Once you start dragging district managers into arbitration to answer for people, to answer for their subordinates, you're going to see them start clamping down on this type of stuff. And we'll have teams put together that are just savage ass dogs, and they're going to go in there and have one thing only that they're going to do, and that's to take care of our people on the floor. So, but I can't think of anybody better to take that over than you because, like I said, when I think of how it's going to be handled nationally, I want that person. Like I said, when that letterhead comes across, it's from the Director of Safety and Health, Rob Kosier, that they understand, they know this motherfucker's got us. You know, I'm not going to be able to talk my way out of it. I can email him back, but it's too fucking late. And that's what I want. I want them to fear that position. I want them to fear that name. And so I think that you're the perfect fit as far as that's concerned because I know who you are and what you're about, and you don't give a shit what management thinks or about their feelings. And I've always said that in arbitration. I don't care about management's feelings. I have no compassion, passion, regret, remorse, nothing. I can't stand them. And so I think you're a perfect fit for that.
I appreciate it. And what'd you call me the other day?
Call them or call you
No,
the
it called
snapping
me
turtle,
Snapping
the
Turtle.
snapping turtle. You know, here in Tennessee, I don't know how many people have snapping turtles, but you know, when a snapping turtle, when it grabs a hold of your ass, it's not going to let go. Down here, they say it's not going to let go until a full moon, and so that's what I want. I want to know that when Rob grabs that ass, uh, there's nothing that can get him off of him. So that's what I want. Is that's how I feel about the dogs of war. That's the passion I have for that because I'm sick and tired of management that's bullying and they take delight in it. You see it all the time. People put stuff on social media. People send me things that management's done, and it's the number one thing to me, and that's my greatest passion is the toxic working environment, handling the toxic working environment. And that's the reason we came up with the dogs of war is to take control of that workroom floor. And so, yes, I want somebody in there that I know is a fucking savage that, that's not been up there for 30 fucking years. We need new blood in there, somebody that's got a fire in the belly for the city letter carrier and taking control of the toxic work environment. And to me, you're the perfect fit. You're talking about, excuse me, you're talking about, um, right before we came on, this the emergency response team, and you kind of have some ideas about some different things that I really like. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I think the emergency response team, whoever came up with that, created it, I think that's an absolute fantastic thing that we have. But one of the things that's a little hard to swallow is the fact that it's it's a response team to a tragedy. And it starts to get you, I mean, which we need, but we don't have a response team to prevent tragedies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I started kind of thinking and digging in a little bit of, creating some type of peer support team, or, we can call it something cool, doesn't matter, carrier care team or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, we need to start thinking of, especially with the mental health. I we're all different. We can all handle things differently, but you start to see it a little bit now more that it's just kind of in the forefront. I don't know if it's, social media or media, whatever, but it's in the forefront. And so I think that I would like to bite down and create a team that, consists of obviously volunteers, but consists of, branch officers, stewards, retired members, safety and health representatives, or just people that are trusted and still involved with the union, and taking them in for some deep, deep training, that mental health first aid type of training, suicide awareness, especially, substance abuse awareness, domestic stress, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of things that are going on the carriers deal with. Yes, we have EAP. I know certain areas people are always telling us that they ain't worth a shit. And I know it's not like that in every area, but in Milwaukee, I had seen a massive decline in the quality of EAP from my standpoint. And just something that happened recent, had a carrier pass away, and um, you know, had some issues for years, and this one kind of took it on the chin for me because I spent the last few years along with my vice president, really trying to get this person well. Um, he was, just going out of work and doing certain things, not coming to work. And, he must have had 7, 8 removals in 2 years. We are able to beat them all. Thought we got him in a place, got a better, his life got a little bit better. And then finding out a couple weeks ago that shit wasn't what we thought it was, and I wasn't notified to attempt to step in. But I know something that this person had told me, because they did utilize the AP a few years ago and just said that they didn't feel comfortable with it, that they felt like nobody cared.
Yeah.
Um, and I get being a branch president. I got all kinds of people who have private conversations with me and stuff like that. Some of the stuff I wish I didn't know, but I mean, it just tells you, um, yeah, people trust me for that.
Yeah.
But I think we need to focus in on some training, some teams that can help prevent some of this. We know right now that, I mean, there's a lot of mental health issues out there, and that's what I would like to possibly get going. This is not a substitute for a doctor. It's mainly a bridge that we would create and have people that are qualified to be able to help them and provide them some assistance to get them that help. And it would be fast help too. I mean, if I got a call at midnight from somebody saying that they want to end their life, I can't tell them, you know what, let me get back to you in a couple days. That's not it. So, and
Yeah.
then we can, the NALC can obviously set some stuff up with that as well. Um, but all these things, and if you think about it, a lot of things tie right back into this JSOV shit.
Yeah.
Some of that is coming from the toxic work environment. You know, you got managers and supervisors that they may talk a certain way. I'm not bothered by it, but other people are, just by the tone of their
Yeah.
voice.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that was just another idea that I had that, I don't like hearing that people are passing away due to suicide, or they're, having to quit because of the mental health aspect of it. Um, I just want to see us, I want to see us spend our dues money on some good shit for people.
Yeah. Well, the suicide rate's higher now for city letter carriers than it's ever been. Why is that? I don't know. I don't know. We've not done a study about what's going on with people. Not that I know of. I mean, it could have been done, but you're talking about, and this is kind of going hand in hand with what you're talking about. A long time ago, I dealt with, had an episode about depression, mental health. And I said, reach out. I gave suicide hotline numbers and different numbers, but I gave my number. I said, if you don't talk to me, just call me. You'd be amazed at the amount of people that called me just to talk, just to say, hey, I just need a voice. The amount of people that reached out. So it is a priority to us to make sure that our people are taken care of. Like you said, PTSD, drug addiction, physical abuse, grief, suicide, those things need to be handled. And EAP, to me, like you said, is just not the answer. Really, and this is sad, but EAP to me is something that I tell my carriers to go to make sure we can get them out of trouble. When you
Same here,
look at,
same here.
yeah, when somebody said, "Hey, man, I had a carrier got caught today, had drugs and stuff," make sure they're going to EAP. You know, and that way I can contractually I'll try to get them back their job just by saying they're going to EAP. But there are people that are in real need in light blue, and again, you hit it on the head when you talked about the JSOV because uh, I think that you take that home to your spouse, your significant other, your kids. Uh, that stuff is taken on. Some of us it don't bother, but some of us it does. I've had people tell me that they've sat in the parking lot and cried their eyes out having to go in because of a certain manager. Now that just pisses me off. That light blue, somebody in light blue would be in their vehicle crying because they don't want to go into work. And so, yeah, I mean, you're spot on.
Sorry, I coughed.
That's all right. I've been coughing too. I had to mute my thing because I'm just now getting over my whatever. So, what can we look for with Rob Kosier as Director of Safety and Health? What kind of person? I've always said that when you look at the entire slate, it's kind of like an offensive line in pro football, college football. You want to be a good offensive line. You have people that can kind of be fit in anywhere. That if somebody was to drop out, you could step in here, you could step in there. And I think James has done a fantastic job of that, getting pieces in place where anybody really could fill a spot. They're that dynamic. They had that much experience on the floor or either in their position that they have now. And so you're a perfect example of that. But what can we look for as the city letter carrier? Because the city letter carrier is looking for some relief from this incompetence we have right now with Renfro and others. But what can people expect from Rob Kosier as the Director of Safety and Health?
I mean, for me, one of the biggest things is I care. And that goes down to starting my career, and some of the places, uh, just due to time constraints of talking, but I mean, I can, okay, so obviously James like to say that, speak softly, carry a big stick. I can be quiet, but if there's a switch, when I got a switch, I don't stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
But to get people to understand, I came into the post office 12 years ago, and about a month in is when I realized I can't. It started as a CCA, and I was just like, well, this sucks because I'm being messed with. And my stewards don't care or they don't recognize this. And within a few months, a couple months after probation, I got elected as one of the three stewards in my office. And I think that showed people right there, okay, well, he cares. I mean, I do, because it wasn't about me. I mean, yeah, I was getting messed with, but I saw this happening all over the place. And I do not like to see that. And then it just transpires and now the branch president and you know come in extremely early, stay late. I do what I got to do. Is everything perfect? Absolutely not. Nothing in life is perfect. But the fact that I don't give a shit what management says or think, and I do care about everybody. Um, and James is that person that I would do anything for.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the biggest thing with wanting him, me personally wanting him to be our national president. All that shit that's on social media. I mean, I can't wait for this crap to be over. Um, the stuff that's being said, not true. If James was a terrible person, I wouldn't be doing this.
yeah,
You wouldn't be doing this.
yeah,
James truly does care. You obviously care. And that's what he built on this team, and that's why I just was like, no, I will do whatever you want. City delivery, sure. And then, doing this, and I just saw it as I think right now that safety and health is, I mean, it's always going to be at the forefront of everybody's issues. Sexy? No. I think it's more sexy than city delivery, to be honest with you. Um, but the grievance procedure is obviously going to be everybody's number one. But
hmm
we can't sacrifice the other stuff for it. Um, I think that I think that if given a chance to just let go, I think we're going to see a change.
yeah,
Um, we have to change and adapt. We can't just keep doing the same shit and be like, well, what happened in Royal Oak in 91, oh, that doesn't matter anymore.
yeah,
Management wipes their ass with that JSOV.
Yeah.
So it's time, if they're gonna wipe their ass with it, it's time to put that bitch in her face. They can
Yeah.
smell their shit because I'm done. I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
But I want to try to get and build all of our members up so they are not scared. They are not timid about this because that's where we have some of that's where we have a lot of the issues.
Yeah.
And I know this stuff locally. It's like you'll call and be like this the supervisor is saying all these mean things. I'm like, all right, can you write me a statement? No. I'm like, dude, I gotta be able to prove this.
Yeah.
Well, she talks crazy. I do. But I need you to write, no, she's gonna mess with me, he's gonna mess with me. And it's like the culture has to change with this. We have to take the heat safety more serious. We have to take in the cold safety more serious. We have to take joint statement stuff more serious. There's so much stuff that we have to take serious. And at the beginning you mentioned the scanner messages. To me, that is playing Russian roulette with some of our new carriers.
Yes.
And that is
100%.
scary. That is
Yes.
scary because if we have one of them die, that's it. I'm telling you. I mean, if somebody dies because of it, all hell's
Yeah.
gonna break loose. It has
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Well, I think that we have dropped the ball on a lot of things. I don't know why. I'm not in those meetings, but we've dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. I don't know why we didn't press as a director of safety and health to have a national level grievance on HIP. Maybe there was some pressing and Renfro just said no, but we should have taken that nationally. These scanner messages, I believe that I've not heard anything from any MBA about scanner messages. Maybe it's out there. I just hadn't seen it, but those are things that we need to have national templates on these unsafe scanner messages. I'm going to talk about that later, but there's so many things that we should nationally address. I just don't feel like it's being addressed, and I don't know why. And like I said, maybe it's because you know, maybe Manny's taking things to Renfro and he's saying, no, I'm not going to do it. And that very well could be it. But to me, you have to, as director of safety and health, you got to be uber aggressive as far as the workroom floor. And these scanner messages, hip training, dogs of war, like you said, these kind of care teams that are coming in. If you're going to talk about putting the city letter carrier first, you need to put the city letter carrier first. I mean, that's it's kind of how that works is you're going to say, hey, light blue means everything to me. Then you need to lead by example and show that they mean everything to you. And so it's encouraging every time you and I speak. It's encouraging. And I know that that's going to be in good hands because, like I said, carrier safety to me is numero uno. There's nothing more important than the carrier safety. That's the reason we're doing all these heat related episodes and stuff like that is because I want my carriers to go home. We don't need another Brother Gates and others that have passed on because of, you know, succumbing to the heat. But
Yeah, when you do home remodeling, depends on the issue. You normally start from the ground up. We're not in the place to start from the ground up. So we got to start with the roof.
yeah,
And that's what I want to be. I want to be one of the shingles.
yeah,
We can fix that, uh, change that type of culture. The bonus for me is the fact that knowing, if James gets elected, this isn't one of those where it's like I gotta ask permission.
yeah,
James James has already made it said, you do what you need to do, have at it.
yeah,
Now, obviously, hey James, I got to purchase a Ferrari to be able to do health and safety. Not that type of shit,
yeah,
but it's there is not going to be any micromanaging, you
yeah,
know. That the job as a president, that's a whole nother thing. The EVP, the vice president, everything else. Look, if this is my job, you don't got to worry about me doing it. I'll get the
yeah,
shit done. If I got to stay there 24 hours a day for the first 2 months, well, I'll have to put a cot and my kids are going to have to come visit me
yeah,
because that's what is needed at this point, and
yeah,
it's a work in progress. And this isn't me dogging on anybody right now. That's not the whole thing. We already know that there's certain people who are that they've had their wings stripped from them. We know
yeah,
that. and that's why, things need to change. But like I said, I'm excited for it. And, I'm hoping that people understand this. I think that was Alexa talking to me. Um, I hope people understand this and take it serious enough where you do get those ballots and stuff and you make that right choice. Um, anybody can ask me questions on certain things. I just want people getting confused. Like a lot of us all have the same ideas and goals.
Yeah,
Um, it's just how we're going to be able to implement these things.
yeah,
If James don't get in, that's going to be a cold day in hell. Because I just don't think things are going to go the way everybody would be hoping at that point.
hmm
And that's the best part about a team thing is, you have to have these like-minded people.
yeah.
I can't imagine having a group of like-minded people, but then the leader is off a cliff. It's
But
just not going to work.
we got that now.
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
Yeah,
And Stevie Wonder knows what has to happen. He can see it,
yeah,
he sees it.
yeah. Well, it's gonna
So,
happen, brother. It's gonna happen. But I'm gonna have you back on, especially probably after August. I'm gonna have everybody on. But my brother, it's always good talking to you, baby.
yes, sir. Even though I just saw you,
You did
I
see
can't,
me.
I can't get enough.
That was fun, right? Though Cookville was a good experience.
It
You
was.
drove. How long a drive was that for you?
It was about 10 hours.
So you drove down to show support for Miss Dana Chambliss, who's going to be my
Absolutely.
next business agent. Got to speak a little
Absolutely.
bit. Got to speak a little bit, but
I
brother,
do it
I'm
again. The
excited.
kids, the kids enjoyed themselves. They enjoyed me taking them to Bucky's.
Bucky's,
Um,
yep, got to
you
go
know,
there.
so that was a notch on my belt for them. Yeah, I got home like 2 in the morning, and then me and the wife slept for 2 hours, and then went to work. But that's I'm not
Nice.
even gonna complain because what you and James is doing is even more crazy at this point.
But you can
So
still complain. Misery loves company.
it does.
Yeah,
But
you can
that's
still complain. I'll listen to you and I'll
yeah,
sympathize with you.
yeah.
But brother, hey, I'll have you back on soon, my man. You know I love you and I cannot wait. The Carriers are very fortunate that you have decided to do that, and I'm excited, especially about, like I said, handing the Dogs of War over to you. I know that it's going to be in great hands. You've already talked about the planning and the training and stuff, and I know that Paul's going to work hand in hand with you. But man, I'm excited. I've always said that James has just got a bunch of savage ass dogs, rabid ass dogs, and for people to finally experience that when we take over. Our meetings are always high energy. The plans, that we have are high energy, and so I can't wait, brother. And I appreciate you.
No, absolutely. Where are you off to next?
Got to go to California Thursday, and
Uh,
then we're off this weekend. July, every weekend we're somewhere except for Father's Day and maybe July 4th.
hmm
But every weekend we're somewhere. And then July we have, we'll start picking it back up. And then August, then nominations are August, and then September will be the vote.
I I just booked my tickets for Orlando in July.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm coming out.
Nice. Going down there with us.
Yep. And I'll probably pop in a few other ones that fit my schedule.
Hell yeah. Well, all right, Broham, you go to
All right.
sleep, and I'll holler at you later. I appreciate you coming on, my man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you too, man.
All right, Rob. See you, buddy.
Yep.